All right. So some another Malarkey Hour coming right at you. This is your host, Matt, and sitting across from me is my co-host, John. How's it going, sir?
Sad.
All right. You know what, John? Here at the Malarkey Hour, I like to think that we do a public service. We give people not only what they want, but what they need. So I figured, since
I mean, counting the community service hours. So.
hey, counselor, I have to sign your paper, right?
Yeah.
Every Sunday. No, I'm just kidding.
Hour a week.
Hour a week. So slow, right? You have 194 more to go.
Knocking them out. I can leave the county.
But yeah, like I figure since a certain virus has been in the news over the last month and a half.
And it's not funny, but I don't know what we're gonna talk about. You're just like virus.
You know which virus. I'm not gonna dignify it by naming it.
Okay.
We all know what I'm talking about, John. It's a virus with a alcohol-sounding name, but I'm not gonna give it the dignity by naming it out loud.
Okay.
Like hasn't been dead.
I was like, is it like?
Did it kill your grandma? No.
Right.
Obviously, I'm talking about the coronavirus. It's been on the news.
Well, now you said it.
Yeah. So I figure since that's in the news, we we go back a little bit. We like they say, history repeats itself. So I figure we go back and look at some of our previous epidemics that have.
So, you mean stuff I don't know anything about.
Well, I'm gonna teach you, John. This is what we do here in Malarkey Hour. We learn. All right, we're gonna learn together.
Okay.
So.
I don't know. I never fucking. Go ahead.
Go back all the way to. Let's go back a while. Let's go back to the 15th century, or a little earlier than that. So, plagues epidemics aren't new, John. We've had them all throughout history. We actually had one. Did you know there's a plague back in 541? Between 541 and 542. It was called the Plague of Justinian.
Today it's just AIDS.
This is a plague that affected Europe, Egypt, and West Asia. You want to guess how many people it killed?
Just tell me.
It actually killed 40% of the population.
Okay. See, now I feel stupid.
It was 25 to 50 million. Obviously, it's an estimate, but that's the estimate of the amount of people.
What year was this?
This was 541, between 541 and 542. That fruitful summer of 541.
Yeah, that's not a real year.
It was so long ago. It affected. It was called the Byzantine Empire. Remember the Byzantine Empire? Learning about them in the old history books in school.
Sure, I'm sure. Do you really remember it?
Yeah, I remember learning about it in school a little bit.
I was watching 12 Monkeys earlier, and they had the little timeline chart, and it said Battle of Hastings, and I was like, I remember that.
Oh yeah.
But it also could have been like a Dennis Miller joke, and that might have been where I heard it.
Let's go. Let's move forward a little bit. Well, that was a little while ago. Let's go a little closer to our timeline. Back to 1545.
Now we're in the 90s.
1545, John. The big, that swinging age of the 1545s. So there is a
when disco was all the rage.
There's a 3-year period between 1845 and 1848. There is an epidemic. They call it the Coco Licitili. I'm like cannot pronounce. In Mexico. Mm-hmm. The disease was possibly salmonella.
Okay.
And you want to guess how many of the Mexican population it killed back then? Think percent. Let's do percentages.
I'm gonna say 30.
80% of the population died. Between 5 and 15 million.
That's pretty close.
Yeah.
I think. Jesus.
And you know, just when they thought they were over this epidemic, John, it came back in 1576. They didn't learn the lesson the first time, apparently, so it came back 30 years later. This time it wasn't as many people. You want to guess
30.
The percentage?
Go 30 again.
50% of the population died.
Got closer.
Between 2 million and 2.5 million people died in Mexico. So it must be pretty embarrassing, right? They didn't learn their lesson the first time. It's like, maybe we should cook that chicken a little better.
Somebody should have got fired.
Right.
I haven't heard of any of these. I'm not.
Me neither. So.
I'm not educated on things. But I have opinions, and I like to win arguments.
Let's get a little closer to our timer yet again.
When disco was all the rage.
Disco was all the rage. This actually happened in southern New England, here in the States, or before it was the States. This happened in 1616, between 1616 and 1619. It was called the, you ready for this? 1616 New England epidemic.
Well, you're getting bored with the names.
Right. Actually, it was an unknown cause. So, latest research suggests the epidemic was of leptospirosis with Well syndrome. Well as Weil. Classic explanations include yellow fever, bubonic plague, influenza, smallpox, chickenpox, typhus, and syndemic infection of hepatitis B and hepatitis D. And that killed between 30 and 90% of the population. That's a big range.
I was gonna say, was it 30 or was it 90?
It's a big range. And they don't have like exact numbers, so they don't know how many people killed.
I am just saying. You should be able to come closer than that range.
You would think, right? But
Right.
probably they couldn't.
Like, you got a quarterback and it's like 30% completion rate or 90% completion rate.
That's a big.
It's a big difference between going into free agency or not.
Okay, so let's really move forward. I don't want to go through too many of these. Let's move forward. Let me find a good one. Let's move forward to the
Disco virus.
disco virus. Yes. No, let's see. I want to find a really good one. You know what I mean.
Find a really titillating.
Actually, let's do one in the last century, 20th century. This one happened in 1957, between 1957 and 1958. And this was the Asian flu. And this was worldwide, John.
Mm-hmm.
This was caused by the influenza virus. And how many people do you think it killed?
Worldwide?
Yeah. Influenza essentially is the flu for anybody.
I'm going to say like 5%.
5 million? 5%. Well, they didn't give me a percent. It gave me millions.
Now I got to do calculation. I don't know. But I don't know what the population was back then.
I don't know either.
Let's just say it killed 1 million.
It killed 2 million people.
Okay.
Still a lot in the modern age.
Yeah, it would still be kind of a lot today.
Yeah. 2 million people, the Asian flu. So
Did you ever have chicken pox?
I had chickenpox as a baby.
So you don't remember having chicken pox?
I don't remember having chickenpox. Actually, you can.
Sure you didn't block it out?
No, I was a baby. In fact, you can still see. I have like scars on my face from it, like where I would scratch it. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So were you like hospitalized for it?
No, I don't think so. Just had it.
You shouldn't have scratched.
Yeah, no. I wish I could go back and tell myself that. Have you ever had the chickenpox?
Yeah, elementary school.
Elementary school. Okay. Like once you if you've never had it, it's a little dangerous, right? Because if you
I don't know.
become adult,
Is that a real thing or is that a myth?
What?
Like if adults get it, it's like dangerous.
Well, I think it's dangerous if you're an old person.
Because I remember an episode of what was that? Horrible, not horrible, but what's the show? I'm blanking out. The Danny Tanner.
Oh, Full House.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
got like all the
Oh yeah, the adults.
they all got it, and
It's
they
like,
were
who the hell did never had it?
yeah, all the
it's-
the kids got the chicken pox,
Yeah.
and then the three adults, the guys, Uncle Jesse and
Yeah.
Joey,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, they all got the chicken pox. They were fine.
Well, they're own man.
Just
Isn't it once you have the chicken pox, then you're more susceptible? Like you won't get it again, but then you're susceptible to. I'm not.
herpes.
No, there's another. I'm not a medical expert, but like there's something else that you're susceptible to. I forget, but
Chlamydia.
if anybody listening knows, please comment below. I'm sure we won't get any comments, but just
Chlamydia.
chlamydia. But yeah. The flu's dangerous.
Yeah, today?
It's always dangerous, right?
I don't know. I haven't had it in a few years.
Been lucky.
Yeah.
The last time I had
That's
it,
what
like
happens when you don't talk to people.
I had it pretty bad, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. That was
Yeah.
like the worst. Yeah, I got it again, but it wasn't as bad. But yeah, it was pretty bad about 2-3 years ago.
You get a shot?
I never get the shots.
I've never gotten one either.
I'm a little fearful of the shots,
Yeah.
especially from what Jim Carrey tells me it's in them.
Oh yeah.
I get a little fearful of what they put in those
What are the Novavax?
Novavax. Yeah,
I don't know.
nah.
It's not something I think about. I also don't have kids.
Exactly.
I don't know anything about that shit.
Vaccination.
Because there's people that are like, don't do it at all, right?
Yeah, there's some people who don't do it at all.
Is that, you know
Which
anybody?
sucks when like somebody gets the smallpox because they don't get vaccinated.
Yeah, but
Shit, that
didn't
fucking
there
has
used to
interfered.
be like schools wouldn't let you in if you didn't have shots?
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore?
I thought they still did. I did. You know what happens? Is a lot of them are like homeschooled.
Are you really about to chew gum? You know we're on a mic, right?
They can't. They can't hear me chewing gum.
So Matt's chewing gum right now. In the middle of an audio-only podcast.
You can hear me chewing gum. Can you?
Now that I know it's there, I can.
And now that you tell everybody it's there,
You gonna swallow it?
no, I'm gonna swallow it. My mouth was dry. I need some gum.
Oh man.
But moving on. Another epidemic, John. What's
Hold on,
another-
I'm gonna eat all these crackers real quick. And see how many I can fit in my mouth.
Another epidemic, John, that happened just 10 years later was another flu. This one was the Hong Kong flu. This happened in between 1960 and 1969.
Almost when disco was all the rage.
Oh, how many millions do you think this killed?
Let's say, okay, I'm gonna say a million.
You're right, 1 million.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Ding, ding, ding.
There you go, John. 1 million people.
I just figured we're probably getting a little better at it. So the numbers should go down.
All right, so this next one, you might have heard of this one. So this one This one started in 1960, and is still present today. And this one is the HIV/AIDS pandemic.
Yeah.
How many people do you think it's killed so far, John?
Jesus. Like since its origination?
Mhm.
Well, there's like Africa and shit.
Yeah, everybody worldwide. So it started in the Congo Basin.
Yeah, I think America's got a relatively small number compared to Africa.
Right?
But I couldn't fucking tell you. Because I know Africa sucks, like as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just not.
Not the best.
Yeah, it's not the best environment for that disease. They don't have the resources to handle that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to guess. Just tell me.
32 million.
Yeah.
32 is one of the biggest. Actually, it's like, what is the difference between? I don't know if you know. What's the difference between a pandemic and an epidemic?
I think epidemic's worse. But I don't know when it becomes an epidemic.
Let's see.
But I think pandemic is before epidemic.
Well, they consider the AIDS HIV thing a pandemic. They don't consider it an epidemic.
Okay.
Yeah.
It did kind of. What year? Between what?
1960 and the present.
They found AIDS in the 60s?
That's when it started.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just think it was like Magic Johnson and then everybody else.
You think Magic Johnson spread it to everybody else?
No, I mean,
I know what you mean.
well, I'm just like started. Right?
Hey, but you know what? He was a good passer, right? It's logical to think he passed it to everybody.
Like, I didn't really know much about it till like Magic Johnson. I was like, I got it.
It's like, I'm not catching anything. Magic is passing.
No. But like that, I don't know why. I know it didn't start with Magic Johnson, but I keep thinking it was like something that started like we found it like in the 80s.
No, well, I mean, I think it became a bigger thing in the 80s, but it didn't really spread until.
So they actually knew what it was in the 60s.
I don't know if they knew.
Yeah.
But yeah,
There was somebody like Grandpa in the 1960s, like, how'd your grandpa die? It's like AIDS. I'm just saying,
probably,
like,
right?
It has to be something like that, right?
It's I don't know. It's
I wish we had somebody smart here.
right. I'm just reading these off. I'm
being
Yeah,
serious, because I'm
no.
even thinking, like, just take something like cancer and be like, in the 1500s, was there cancer? I don't fucking know.
I mean, it was. It just probably wasn't identified as cancer, right? I mean,
So
I'm
that's
sure
what
there's been cancer.
That's what I'm thinking.
Since the dawn of man, I would.
Because there's so many different types, right?
Yeah, something different. So, I mean, I'm sure it's been around since we've been around. So, and I mean,
I was gonna say, man, 80s.
Yeah, I already knew you were going with that. All right, John. So let's jump ahead to this century, 21st century. So we had a outbreak in the early 2000s, 2-year period, called the remember SARS.
Yeah.
So SARS didn't go worldwide. SARS only really hit China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore, and Canada for some reason.
That's why people are always showing pictures of the Chinese people with the masks.
The mask, yeah, because they've already sort of been through this. And this one it wasn't as bad. Well, I say it wasn't as bad, but it sucked for the people it hit, right? So in China, it killed...
Right. Talk to my grandpappy.
Right. In China, it killed 349 people. In Hong Kong, 299. In Taiwan, 37. In Singapore, 33. And in Canada, 44. Canucks died of the SARS outbreak, which was is actually another coronavirus, SARS.
Yeah. It's not actually, and I only learned this the other day from some stupid show that I won't mention.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was the coronavirus, but apparently that's just a type of virus.
Yeah. So coronaviruses are a group of viruses that cause diseases in mammals and birds. So that's how they identify it. So usually in humans, coronaviruses cause respiratory tract infections. So usually they're mild. Then it looks like a common cold. It's a lot of people get this, but it becomes more serious when like SARS or MERS, and then now this coronavirus, which is COVID? What do they call it? The
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, COVID-19. Very original.
Everybody knows what that is.
Yeah, so it's the current strain of what we're dealing with right now.
I mean, I'm not dealing with it.
We as a society are dealing with it, John.
I know. I sound. I'm not. I mean, you actually think about it? I mean, like, do you change any of your?
I haven't. Nah. Because I figure even if I get it, is it like 2 or 3% of people have died?
I think I heard it was like you've got like a 98% chance of
living, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're like a really like a little baby or your old person, like always.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds accurate based on.
And if you're a baby, you're not really concerned about it. And if you're an old person, you're just like, oh, finally, I'm gonna get out of here.
Yeah,
so
I
it's like it's
guess.
one of those like, yeah.
But I guess I just don't. It doesn't feel like it. What do we have? One person die so far?
Here in the United States?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Been
Like 2-3% of the people who've gotten it have died.
Are there cases in Texas?
Apparently there is. Well, I mean, they brought people here into Texas.
I know there was until they brought them.
Yeah.
But they quarantine people
Yeah,
here.
they're quarantined, yeah.
Yeah, but
I think the issue is it's really easy to spread.
Mhm.
Which granted, I'm not an expert at all in diseases, but from what I've heard of experts in
From what my Uber driver told me.
experts, I think it was some people from the CDC and a director of I forgot what organization he's part
Talk to
of.
him?
Who?
You talk to him?
No. I've heard on TV or read online, but apparently the easier something is to spread, the less deadly it is.
The less what?
The less deadly it is. So if it's really easy to spread, it's not as
Oh.
deadly as something that's maybe a little harder to spread. But if it's a little harder to spread, it could be a little more deadlier. So
Yeah.
So there's that.
Gotta be careful because you know what's easy to spread?
What is easy to spread?
Nonsense.
Nonsense is. I mean, it's not deadly. You don't think nonsense is deadly?
It could be.
Let's go to something else that actually was a little deadlier. People don't realize. Remember the 2009 flu pandemic?
That bird flu?
I believe that was the bird flu. Can't remember. It's just 2009. You might be right. Actually, that one killed. Do you remember how many people that killed worldwide? 203,000.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, it isn't. I guess we've been lucky as America to not have anything just pile on here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it would be a little bit more concerned if I was in China right now.
Yeah. So I mean that one happened that year, right? So how many people do you think have died so far from the coronavirus outbreak of 1920? Just total
2,500.
3,043. So,
Okay. I know it was something like that.
Yeah.
But
Right.
mostly just, that's China mostly, right?
Mostly China, some of Japan, and I think some places in Europe have been a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Here, not as much in the United States, but supposedly it might spread. So we'll see.
And stop licking the seat on the bus.
Yes. So going back, John, I listed a bunch of diseases, a bunch of them.
You know, the second like my throat hurts now, like I'm gonna think I have it.
You think you have it?
Just
It's funny. For the longest time, it just like you said, I guess I haven't really concerned myself as much with it. I didn't even know what the symptoms were. I was like, I don't even know if I have it. What if I have it? I'm not really thinking about it.
probably you probably do.
I probably have coronavirus.
All right. I don't know.
I should be wearing a mask.
I mean,
right now.
it is just flu symptoms, right?
Sort of. I mean, I think it's like your throat or I don't know.
I'm gonna convince myself that I have it. Like, no, I mean, not intentionally.
Right.
Just be neurotic and shit. I'm serious. I haven't had the flu in so long that I'm just gonna just go straight and just tell them to test me for corona.
Right. All right. Just annoying your doctor even more.
I tell you the time I went to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the sole reason I was there, but like I had walked out of a store. Which was it? A Walmart?
Mm-hmm.
And it was raining, and some water came from the roof and got in my lips and my mouth. Okay. And I brought that up, and I basically rolled his eyes and ignored it. They don't really. At least my doctor doesn't take it too seriously when it comes to water in your mouth from the.
He's not that concerned.
No.
All right, John. So going back, I listed a lot of diseases, a lot of them, probably more than you probably really ever put thought of. But I did skip over two, and that's because I wanted to go more into detail with these two. These two have been two of the deadliest epidemics in the known history of man. One happened not too long ago, about 100 years ago. And that was, can you guess what I'm going to speak to?
Honestly, I have no. Wait, hold on. There's probably something obvious.
About 100 years ago.
Go for it.
This one was called, do you remember, have you ever heard of something called the Spanish flu? So
Yes.
So this was a worldwide epidemic or pandemic. Actually, this one they call it the pandemic. I still don't know the difference. This
What
happened
was the
between
thing Bill Cosby said on the Spanish Fly, right?
the Spanish fly. Yes,
Okay.
this is Spanish flu. It's one letter off. That's close.
Get one of those fucking. Dude, I'm like blanking on everything. What is the show with the letters?
Wheel of Fortune.
Yes.
yes.
I was gonna say Jeopardy, but I was like, no, I can't answer any of those questions.
yeah, and they're both vowels, right? You get to buy a vowel.
Yeah.
This is the Spanish flu, John. One letter off. This happened between 1918 and 1920. You want to guess how many people this killed?
A lot.
It's a lot.
Because I actually remember that in a book,
Yeah, this was a lot.
but I don't remember any information. But
It's scary how many people this killed, especially in that time period, which I don't think the population was that much.
I'm gonna go with 15 million.
100 million people.
It's a lot.
That's a fucking lot of people.
I'm really not good at this game.
No, I mean it's. I don't think I would have guessed that either. Like I don't think I could have guessed 100 million people. It actually it infected 500 million people, which was about 27% of the world population then, which was at that time was between 1.8 and 1.9 billion.
So 20% died.
27% got infected. 500 million people got infected.
And
100 million died. Yeah.
Well, isn't that?
So
That's not an even number. You're right.
Yeah. So essentially 20% of the people who got it died. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's actually. That's a lot.
Yeah. And it's actually the first of two pandemics involving what they call the H1N1 influenza virus. The other one being the swine flu. It was the swine flu. It was in the bird flu in 2009.
Yeah.
What? It's H1N1.
I don't know my diseases.
I don't know either.
H1. I remember the H1N1.
Yeah, and this is how deadly the Spanish flu was. This also includes people who were on isolated places like the Pacific Islands and the Arctic. People in the Arctic got the Spanish flu. So this is how infectious this thing was.
Tom Hanks got it in Castaway. I don't like that movie.
So obviously these are estimates. So this is what's crazy with these estimates. So they say it could have killed anywhere between 40 to 50 to all the way as much as 100 million. So this obviously is just estimates because you don't. I guess back then you couldn't really put a solid number to things. But I mean that's a big range too. But regardless, even if it's half of 100 million, that's still a lot of people to kill.
Yeah, that is a lot.
Yeah.
So off on these fucking numbers.
This is what's crazy, right? So infectious diseases had already limited life expectancy. Can I say that word? In the
Swallow your gum.
No, I'm not chewing gum anymore. In the early 20th century, but life expectancy in the United States dropped about 12 years in the first year of this pandemic. Joe.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So most influenza outbreaks disproportionately kill the very young and the very old, like we said a while ago, with a higher survival rate for those in between. But the Spanish flu pandemic resulted in a higher than expected mortality rate for young adults. So this wasn't like, you get the flu most of the time. If you're an old person or you're a baby, you're going to die from it. Like, you don't have to worry if you're a younger, healthy adult. But apparently this flu didn't give a fuck. It killed anybody who wanted to.
A lot of them don't have emotions.
Some of them do.
Angry flu.
So apparently to maintain morale, wartime, because this is during World War I.
Mm-hmm.
This is also crazy. So you're having this war between worlds, John, happening.
Yeah.
And then you have this flu coming around. So you had to worry about a German shooting in the head and the flu getting you.
Yeah. I mean, that's stressful.
Yeah. So apparently to maintain morale, wartime censors minimize early reports of illness and mortality in Germany, the United Kingdom, France, and the United States. papers were free to report the epidemic's effects in neutral Spain. So Spain was open country. You can tell anybody you wanted about the flu.
Suppressing the news, just like they do today.
So apparently, even the king there in Spain, King Alfonso the 13th, was afflicted by it.
I never knew that guy.
Yeah. So these stories created a false impression of Spain as especially hard hit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the nickname Spanish flu came, because news reports from Spain were a little bit more forthcoming on the seriousness of the disease there, as opposed to other countries. So that's the reason the name came. Oh, it's a Spanish flu. But it really wasn't just in Spain. It was all over the world.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one that's like, oh, yeah, books.
So there's several possible explanations for the high mortality rate of this pandemic. Some analysis have shown the virus to be particularly deadly because it triggers what's called a cytokine storm.
I know that word.
You know that word?
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, cytokine release syndrome, also known as an infusion reaction, is a form of systemic inflammatory response syndrome that arises as a complication of some diseases or infections, and it's also an adverse effect of some monoclonal antibody drugs, as well as adoptive T cell therapies. So it triggers this cytokine storm, which ravages the stronger immune system of young adults. So that's why this flu was more. It didn't just hit old people and young kids. It also killed young adults.
When was this again?
1918.
Okay. You're going. Okay, yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So this essentially this super infection killed most of the victims, typically after a somewhat prolonged deathbed.
That this is one of the cheerier segments, right? Podcast.
So there is some hypotheses about the source.
It's a plural hypotheses.
Hypotheses as opposed to hypothesis.
Hypotheses? They're spelled different, right?
Yeah, one's with I and the other one's with the E.
Okay.
Hypotheses.
Yeah.
I think I'm saying that correct.
Yeah, I think it is. So you have a hypothesis, but if you have multiple, it's a hypothesis.
You have hypotheses. So there's several hypotheses about the source. Where did this flu come from?
Yeah.
So one is the major troop staging and hospital camp in Etaples, France, was identified by researchers as being at the center of the Spanish flu. The research was published in 1999 by a British team led by virologist John Oxford. Of course, those British want to blame the French, right?
Yeah.
In late 1917, military pathologists reported the onset of a new disease with high mortality that they later recognized as the flu. The overcrowded camp and hospital was an ideal site for the spreading of a respiratory virus. The hospital treated thousands of victims of chemical attacks and other casualties of war. 100,000 soldiers were in transit through the camp every day. It was also home to a live piggery. Never heard of that. Do you know what a piggery is?
I mean,
it's a real thing. It
sounds like something in a children's book.
Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. A bunch of pigs, pig farm.
It sounds like a racist word for a pig. Or sounds
you
like
piggery.
or it's like, or it just sounds like, yeah, get your ass back to the piggery. It just sounds like something like, oh hell no.
Hell no. You just used the P word on me. No, it was home to a live piggery, and poultry was regularly brought in for food supplies from surrounding villages. Pigs and chickens are like really like fucking like disgusting animals, right?
Yeah, they're pretty nasty.
Like it's funny we eat them all the time, but
what's
they
that
bring a lot of
pig
disease.
that can kill you? It's like a wild, or maybe it's more. What is a?
Like a wild hog or?
I think so. It's like what's the difference between a hog and a pig?
I don't know. I'm not much of a farmer.
I know going a little bit outside of town, like I guess they're hogs, but people would hit them and they can fuck up your car and shit.
Yeah, they're big animals.
Yeah, I've known some people that have hit a couple.
Yeah, like just like wild hogs.
Yeah, especially yeah,
Yeah.
because you don't see them as well as like deer.
Yeah.
And I've seen a few dead ones on the side of the road too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's Wild Hog is dangerous, especially the 2007 movie Wild Hogs, starring
Is
was
that
that movie
is
with-
that John Travolta?
I think it's a John Travolta movie. Yeah.
I don't think it's good.
That was pretty deadly too, right? Wild Hogs.
Is that what it was called? Wild Hog?
Wild Hogs. Yeah. I think wasn't it? What's his name?
Is it like Tim Allen, right?
Tim Allen, John Travolta. What's his name? William H Macy.
Yeah, where they're going on some bike trip, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never saw it, so, but yeah,
Saw like a few minutes of it.
that was enough.
You want to try to guess its Rotten Tomatoes rating?
Sure.
Okay. What is your guess?
27%.
14%.
Wow, I should overestimate it. So,
But I was also bringing up Grandma's Boy, which is funny. And it got a terrible Rotten Tomatoes rating.
right. Another hypothesis, John, going back to the Spanish flu, is that the epidemic originated in the United States. So historian,
Now we're gonna get blamed.
yeah. So apparently historian Alfred W. Crosby claimed that the flu originated in Kansas, and popular author John Barry described Haskell County, Kansas, as the point of origin.
He
It's weird how
said
these-
Cosby had nothing to do with this.
Crosby.
Okay.
Yeah, Crosby was a professor emeritus of history, geography, and American studies at the University of Texas at Austin, Harvard University, and the University of Helsinki. It's weird that these history authors are such experts in diseases, but
Yeah.
but they think Kansas was the point of origin. It's also been claimed that by late 1917, there had already been a first wave of the epidemic in at least 14 U.S. military camps.
Isn't that monkey from Outbreak? What did he start?
He started like somewhere in the North Pacific Northwest, right? No. Yeah, like Northern California, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's always funny when people say Pacific Northwest. I don't know why.
Isn't that what it's? Isn't how it's like?
No, I know what it is, but
Yeah.
it's just it sounds
It sounds redundant, right?
funny. Yeah,
Yeah,
because it doesn't. I'm like, you mean like Washington and like
Oregon.
yeah. Like, I feel like
It just
yeah.
sounds fancier.
Yeah, I feel like the corner area, like on the left, at the top.
You hang in left and then go up.
Was it on I don't know why it's a funny line with the Kramer on Seinfeld,
Mm-hmm.
where he's climbing that tree and he's trying to get something from the top.
Oh yeah.
Or is it?
No,
No,
no.
Newman's climbing the tree.
Yeah.
And Kramer's like, "Where'd you learn to climb that?" He's like, "The Pacific Northwest."
Yeah, I remember
I don't
that.
know why that's a funny line.
What was he trying to get?
I
Like his
can't-
bag or something like that?
I can't fucking remember.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know why it's funny, but it sounds funny.
Yeah.
The Pacific Northwest.
It's if you're specific with something. I don't know if it's always
Yeah.
funny. It's so one of the few regions. So that was some guesses where it started, but actually one of the few regions of the world that wasn't affected as much by the by this pandemic. It goes back and forth. This pandemic and epidemic. I still don't know the difference. Want to guess which area wasn't hit as hard with the Spanish flu?
In America?
No, in the whole world.
Australia.
China.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, China. It seems like everybody gets sick in China.
Yeah. It's
There's so many people living there. I guess.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Everybody's too
Just the
goddamn
odds, yeah.
close together.
Yeah, it's just the odds, right? There's so many people.
Yeah.
So apparently, where there may have been a comparatively mild flu season in 1918, although this is disputed. So there were relatively few deaths from the flu in China compared to other regions of the world. This has led to speculation that the 1918 flu pandemic originated from China. So now they're getting blamed.
You going
Just-
just right back.
Right. They're just volleying back that blame. The relatively mild flu season and lower rates of flu mortality in China in 1918 may be explained due to the fact that the Chinese population had already possessed or acquired the immunity to the flu virus. Thus, in 1918, China was spared from the worst ravages of the pandemic due to the apparent greater resistance to the virus among the Chinese population compared to the other regions of the world.
Yeah, China gets blamed for a lot.
for a lot of things. So earlier hypotheses or how no hypothesis. No hypothesis. Wait, how do you say the plural?
Hypotheses.
The plural is hypotheses, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Put forward varied points of origin
Hippopotamus.
for the epidemic. Some hypothesized, another word,
Yeah.
that the flu originated in East Asia.
Hypothesis.
Right? A common area for transmission of disease from animals to humans because of dense living conditions. Like you mentioned earlier, John, there's too many damn people in one area. In 1993, Claude Hanaun, the leading expert on the 1918 flu for the Pasteur Institute, asserted the former virus was likely to have come from China. It then mutated in the United States.
I mean, they don't do any research. They're just likely China.
And then mutated in the United States near Boston, and from there spread to Brest, France, Europe's battlefields, Europe, and the world with allied. Is that how you say it? Allied soldiers.
Yeah, allied.
And sailors as the main disseminators. Sounds like a made-up word. Disseminators.
Terminator 2 was better.
With the disseminators.
Disseminator 3000.
He considers several other hypotheses of origin, such as Spain.
It's hyperthesis.
Such as Spain, Kansas, and Brest as being possible but not likely. Political scientists, all these fucking
You said breasts.
all these medical scientists, like political scientist Andrew Price Smith published data from the Austrian archive suggesting the influenza had earlier origins, beginning in Austria in early 1917. So,
all right, and Austria blamed China.
So let's get to how it was spread, Johnson. Since we can't really pinpoint the origin, how the fuck did people spread this? So when an infected person sneezes or coughs, more than 500,000 virus particles can spread to those nearby. So if I were to cough right now, or sneeze, chew, there goes 500,000 virus particles.
Yeah.
If I had a virus.
Gum fell out of your mouth.
You touched my gum earlier.
I know. No, we used hand sanitizer. Why is this squishy? You wrapped it up in a piece of paper.
Yeah. Just like... Yeah.
What was the... It would be funny that was just like a very calculated prank.
What was weird is then you put it in your mouth.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, that was weird. The close quarters and massive troop movement of World War I hastened the pandemic and probably both increased transmission and augmented mutation. The war may also have increased the lethality of the virus. Some speculate the soldiers' immune systems were weakened by malnourishment, as well as the stresses of combat and chemical attacks, increasing their susceptibility. So yeah, I mean, obviously you're like getting shot at. You're not, your immune system's sort of gonna go down. You're in these fucking trenches with fucking water and mud, and your feet are fucking falling off, and
your immune system does get weaker though if you're not exposed to some shit, right?
Yeah. If you like go too much the other way, the extreme.
Yeah.
So that's how I spread, John.
Like a John Travolta in the what was that Bubble Boy movie?
In the 70s, right? He was he the Bubble Boy?
Yeah.
I never seen it, but I mean I've heard of.
Saw it when I was a kid.
Yeah. It was like a Disney movie, like a TV.
No, it's like it was.
Was it like a?
It was a real movie. I think it's like a full length. I think it was at the movie. 31% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Is it really?
That's the 2001 with Jake Gyllenhaal. What was the John Travolta called? Was it actually called Bubble Boy?
What was it called?
The boy was the boy in
the boy in the plastic
yeah,
bubble.
That's what it was. Yeah, 1976.
Made for TV. That's what it was.
It was made for TV.
Yeah, it was made for TV.
Okay.
Yeah. John Travolta was a little old to be being a boy. Right? Motherfucker was in his 30s at that point, wasn't he?
Maybe.
I see.
Doesn't look like a boy to me.
Nah, not at all. He was born in 1954. So he was
he's
a 22-year-old boy.
Bubble Boy was. That's just what they said in Seinfeld.
Yeah. The boy in the plastic bubble. Yeah.
He's a boy in a bubble.
So that was the Spanish flu, John.
Do you remember when? I keep thinking of these old episodes of Seinfeld.
Yeah.
when he's like
Yeah.
the. I think Elaine asks for like a napkin because she's crying about the Bubble Boy story,
Mhm.
and then Jerry grabs one. He's just wiping his mouth.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's funny. He's just like kind of like doesn't care.
Yeah.
I actually thought the movie was called Bubble Boy with John Travolta. That's a comedy with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah. Which actually, it's not a terrible movie.
I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah.
Bouncing around town, right?
Yeah. So just to wrap this up, the Spanish flu. Just to give you some perspective, John, this flu killed more people in 24 weeks than HIV/AIDS killed in 24 years. I'm sorry.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's fast.
Yeah. So.
I don't know. Try not to. We'll do a recap. These numbers are going to go up or down here.
And then wrapping up the last part of this podcast, I want to talk about the big one. The big disease. Do you know what? Can you guess what I'm going to talk about?
Chlamydia? No, actually, it's funny. It's going to be something super obvious that I don't know.
This is, have you ever heard of the Black Death or the plague?
Oh, the plague.
The plague, yeah.
The Black Plague.
The Black Plague has many names, John. It was known as the Black Death, pestilence, or pest for short, the Great Plague, or just the plague, or less commonly, the Black Plague. So this was.
I always thought it was just the Black Plague.
Yeah. So this plague, this thing had like a lot of names. It was almost like Prince. A lot of names.
Yeah.
A lot of names.
Yeah. Are you still P. Diddy?
Right. Yeah, or like P. Diddy. Right?
All right. Some people just called him Puff Daddy.
So this epidemic or pandemic or plague or whatever you want to call it, it lasted between 1331 and 1353. But it did peak between 1347 and 1351. So there was a 4-year period there where it was like the maximum amount of people getting it and dying from it. Obviously, this is way back when where people didn't travel as much, so the spread of this was a little slower. So that's the reason it was the length of it maybe was a little bit more. So it's one of the most devastating pandemics in human history. So this resulted in the deaths of an estimated 75 to 200 million people.
Yeah, that's a big number.
In Eurasia. So this was that region there.
Where was Eurasia?
The area like Europe, Asia.
Okay. Like the Pacific Northwest.
Pacific Northwest, yes.
Just
imagine the Pacific Northwest, like 90%.
Full of Asians.
Just full of Asians, and they're just dying of the plague.
Jesus.
So the Black Death was the first major European outbreak of plague and the second plague pandemic. The plague created a number of religious, social, and economic upheavals with profound effects on the course of European history. The origin probably originated in East Asia. From there, it traveled along the. Remember the Silk Road? You ever learn about the Silk Road?
Wasn't that dark net thing?
That's they got it from this. So the Silk Road was a network of trade routes which connected the East and West and was central to the economic, cultural, political, and religious interactions within these regions from the 2nd century BCE to the 18th century. So it lasted a long time. The Silk Road primarily refers to the land routes connecting East Asia and southern. Sorry, let me click on that. And southern Europe.
Yeah.
So that's how essentially they think it's traveled from East Asia, along the Silk Road. So reaching Crimea by 1343.
Why is Crimea always stick in my head as something important?
It is a peninsula located on the northern
it
coast.
Connects the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coast of the Black Sea in Eastern Europe.
It's like I remember circling it like on a test somewhere, like probably like in high school or middle school.
So, have you ever heard like one of the causes of the Black Plague?
Somebody had sex with a monkey?
No, actually,
Isn't that like a weird? theory on every like multiple diseases though. Somebody
Yeah,
had sex with an animal.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
And then like people ate the animal. And I'm being serious. Like
People
wasn't
ate the animal that the person had sex with.
yeah, or like the animal could spread it. Can the animal give it to humans? Well, that's what they're saying, right?
Well, there's some diseases that happen. Yeah, it originates in animals and then.
Oh no
goes to
no no! It
humans.
was the other way around. Is like, wasn't that a real AIDS like theory that a guy had sex with a
I think
monkey?
so. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Oh, fucking lazy. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. Yeah.
oh yeah, Chappelle had a whole thing about that.
Oh, the HIV. Yeah. No. One. The one thing that's most commonly associated with the black plague is rats.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But in fact, more than likely, what really caused it wasn't just the rats.
There's people that fucking can't keep their mouths shut. Just do their time.
I mean actual black rats, John.
Well, now you just stereotype.
No. So, but apparently it was more likely the fleas that lived on these black rats.
Mhm.
And the fleas is the ones that spread the disease. These black rats traveled on Genoese merchant ships, spreading throughout the Mediterranean
How many
basin.
words do you think you've said wrong?
I think like 23% of the words.
I don't know if you're saying them wrong. I'm just like, oh.
Spreading throughout the Mediterranean basin, reaching the rest of Europe via the Italian peninsula. However, once it's like remember in school when like they asked you to read like in history class and you're just like, oh fuck,
Stuttering Stanley.
like they picked that one kid who couldn't barely speak English as it is, and like they gave him like the hardest thing to read.
Yeah,
and it's just he's just struggling. It's like, however, one study.
Oh man.
However, one study has suggested the opposite view, in which the Black Death originated in Europe and spread eastward. The Black Death is estimated to have killed 30 to 60% of Europe's population. So in total, the plague may have reduced the world population from an estimated 475 million to 350 to 375 million in the 14th century. It's a lot of fucking people.
Yeah. What was the high number?
Like total?
Yeah.
About 200 million people.
Yeah. That's deaths, right?
Yeah, deaths.
Okay.
So it took 200 years for Europe's population to recover to its previous level.
A lot of fucking.
Yeah. And some regions like Florence only recovered by the 19th century. The plague recurred as outbreaks until the early 20th century. So there were still like many like plagues going on from that first original big one. They would see these plagues. Like, and in fact, actually I skipped over some of them, but there was a 1563, there was a London plague that killed 20,000. Another London plague in 1592 killed another 19,000. There's a plague in Spain, a plague in South America, a plague again in England in 1603, a plague in Egypt in 1609. There was a plague, an Italian plague in 1629 that killed 280,000. There's a plague in England in 1636. I mean, so it's just you just saw the plague keep coming back, killing 24,000 people in the Netherlands, 1663.
Do you have any plagues where everyone lived?
No. Another 100,000 in England
Jeez.
got killed in 1665. France lost 40,000 in 1668. Austria lost 76 in 1679. Let me see what other plagues. There was a Great Plague of 1738 in the Balkans that killed 50,000 people. Russians, they got the plague in 1770 that killed 50,000. Persia got a plague in 1772 that killed 2 million people. This goes on. Man, shit, there's a lot of plagues. So it just keeps coming back. Dalmatia, that's the actual place apparently.
Yeah.
That got a plague in 1840. So it hit the
I just
the
learned,
101
I just
Dalmatians.
learned that was real the other day.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Dalmatia, really?
Because I was having an argument with my friend about how many Dalmatians were in the movie 101 Dalmatians.
Uh-huh.
And I said 101, and we were trying to figure it out.
Uh-huh.
And like it corrected. It's like Dalmatia. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And then it's like, no, I want to know about the dogs.
That's actual place.
Yeah.
The Ottoman Empire got a plague in 1853.
Actually put the movie on and paused it and tried to count them, but
It's hard. It's hard.
No, but it's anyway. That's a whole other topic.
Actually, one of the last plagues. You want to guess how recent the last plague was?
60s.
1994 in India. Killed 52 people.
The point of this whole thing is to make me sound stupid.
That's crazy. Actually, there's even more recent one. You want to guess what year? The most recent. Let me see. Let me make sure this is the most recent one. Let me see. I'm just going by this list here. Okay. There's one that's super recent.
I always do bad on Jeopardy when they're like plagues. And it's like
I won't have you guess for too long, John. In 2008, Madagascar. Even Madagascar, the little island that has no people living there, got the plague in 2008.
it's like too recent to be saying like how'd they die? Plague.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So it's been going on for a while. So
I take this all very lightheartedly until it affects me.
until you have the plague,
Until it affects me or somebody,
right?
somebody around me.
All right. But yeah, the plague, John. Hopefully, it doesn't come back.
Yeah. Are they? I don't even know. Aren't they working on a vaccine
For the plague?
for this new stupid one with a stupid name?
yeah, the coronavirus. They say they should have something by hopefully in the next 6-7 weeks.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But
This
yeah.
is always. This always brings up the mood. Plagues and
Plagues and
serial killers.
but it's good to know, John. History repeats itself. We have a lot of outbreaks happening every year.
I don't think it's gonna be like a Contagion.
Yeah, that's scary, right?
Yeah, it's a movie I don't really like want to keep rewatch.
Fucking Gwyneth Paltrow on her business trip.
She started it, right?
She started it, yeah.
Was she like in a casino or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually talked about it at work the other day. Somebody brought it. I was like, "You ever seen Contagion?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's like,
Yeah.
I thought the same thing. Damn, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Isn't she? Is she one of those vaccine deniers too?
I don't know. She seems like, it's funny, even if she isn't, she seems like one of those, yeah. Yeah, she seems like one of those celebrities
Right.
who would
It's automatically.
I know more than doctors.
Yeah, just assume she is.
Yeah. But yeah, there's that, John. So hopefully neither of us get the coronavirus because that would suck. And there will be no more podcasts if one of us died because of the coronavirus.
Right.
Would you continue the podcast if I died from the coronavirus?
Probably replace it.
Yeah, okay, good. Gotta
Yeah.
keep the memory going.
No. It just yeah, you're easily replaceable.
Luckily, I have enough archival audio.
Get
Where
one of
I
we'll build an AI.
Yeah, I should rebuild you, and it's just like then I can make you say whatever I want. So it's like, don't you agree, John? You're like, yes.
Just make me say like fucking embarrassing and weird shit.
I wonder if there's enough. I doubt it, right? If there's enough hours of us talking to recreate our voices.
Probably not in the best way,
Right.
but
Yeah.
probably enough.
Where it's like, it sort of sounds like him.
Yeah. Shit, maybe. I don't know how much you need.
I think there's a certain amount of combinations you need before like it's possible.
Do you remember back when technology wasn't as good and they
Or
would
scary.
sell the yeah, it's always scary.
Yeah.
And they would sell the like hands-free thing like
Yeah.
on TV.
Yeah.
You had to like read the fucking dictionary
Oh,
for
yeah,
it to
yeah.
like know how you say shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
No, it's a little scary, but
no.
no, John, I wouldn't replace you. I would just restart a new podcast with a new host.
Right. Right.
I would call it the Malarkey Hour.
Right. Just it's like just I don't know, just like, hey, you.
All
That's
right.
the first nut on Craigslist to respond.
Yeah. Yeah. So John, what before we leave this week, what word of advice would you give people to be careful out there with the coronavirus running
I mean,
rampant? Would
there's
like
that. It's flu season anyway, right?
yeah, actually we have a weird
Don't do what you just did right now.
like scratch
Just
my
don't-
nose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't touch your nose or your mouth unless you have to.
Don't touch
And
other people's gum.
don't touch people's gum. Don't eat people's gum. Don't share needles,
Yeah.
even if people are, trying to be friendly. Um,
Don't be out too late at night. That's just regular advice. I think everybody can say like nothing good happens after 10.
I wouldn't say that. But honestly, like seriously, just don't touch your face.
that's
a
the
lot.
easiest thing, right?
It's
but,
like,
but it's
yeah.
hard for people. Like people just
Like I
naturally-
caught myself touching like my cheek earlier in the middle of this, and even
Mhm.
I was like, ah.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's hard. Like you like it's just naturally like I get an itch here. Or you like you scratch
Yeah.
your nose or
Yeah, to wash your hands, don't touch your face, and that's pretty much all you can do.
did you stock up on your hand sanitizer?
I didn't stock up, but I have a.
Did you hear that rumor that I forgot which stores were guessing that they might run out of hand sanitizer?
I went to Walgreens. They had a lot.
Yeah, that a lot. But they're like
But-
reassuring everybody, hey, we're gonna make sure that.
I'm running out of those fucking masks, though.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, it's not that effective from preventing, like if you don't already have it, from getting it. It's more of if you already have it to spread it to other people.
Yeah, I always wondered that when people are wearing them, they're like usually sick, right? Like before.
You would hope so. You know, but I've seen like on airplanes, I've seen like these overprotective people. Like there's like a skinny lady the other like last time I was flying and she had her mask on. But I mean, it doesn't make sense. She don't get sick, but I don't know how effective that is. But you're right. I think it's more of if you're already sick. It's
Right. They're
Yeah.
running out of hazmat suits.
have you ever worn one of those masks in public?
Like the white, just the white one.
Mm-hmm.
No.
No. I mean, have you seen there's a chart out that for like men's facial hair that like different facial hair like might affect this seal around your mouth
Really?
and nose? Yeah. So like like obviously a full beard, you know, they sort of they have a little diagram and it has it over your nose and then over your mouth.
Mm.
And then if the facial hair goes over that, then it's not gonna create a seal. So like full beards are no. Those weird like fucking mustaches that go out like ridiculous up to here. That's a no. Some like
the ones that people, yeah.
goatees that go beyond like your chin, like they're gonna go down below, like it's gonna hit that line. That's a no. So like that different. It's a. They look it up if you have time. Like look up a chart and it has like all the ineffective facial.
Like you really can't buy them right now.
I don't know.
I
I'm sure
haven't
you
even
can. I'm sure you can. I think in certain areas you might be able to, but I'm sure you can buy them online. I'm sure Amazon has a bunch.
Yeah, I don't know. I heard they were going for like stupid prices though.
Yeah.
I told you I knew somebody that bought a box this weekend.
Nice. Yeah. I'm not that concerned. I don't think I would go out with mask. I wish just if it was that bad, I wish just wouldn't go out.
It's a fucking club packed full of people together with masks.
It's like fuck that. I'm still gonna party, but I don't want to be safe.
All right. Right, the strippers wearing. It's like, is that for me? Is that for my protection or yours?
All right. Yeah. Yeah. But no, we'll see. We'll see how.
Bunch of strippers wearing coronavirus masks.
Although I was out today, different places in public, and it seemed like it was super packed everywhere. So people weren't shying away from being in public places.
Or do I think you should right now?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't just, like I said, don't lick the bus seat, the bench.
In all seriousness, how far do you think this is gonna spread? Here, United States.
I don't think about it, but if I had to make a bet,
Mm-hmm.
probably see it pop up in maybe every state.
All right.
At least, yeah,
In
probably.
cases,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say there'd be a death in every state.
I think what's helping is they really are just quarantine anybody who gets it.
But okay, you told me they're working on a vaccine. I thought I heard somebody say it's like 12 to 18 months.
I heard shorter than that. I heard
Well,
6.
one of us is wrong.
Yeah, way wrong, right? I didn't hear months. I heard like weeks, like 6 to 9 weeks out. But I don't know. Although
Yeah.
these are all guesses, even like in the news.
I think like we have like super smart people that know shit,
Mm-hmm.
and we could just pay them to like do shit.
Yeah. Well,
I know I'm simplifying things.
well, it is a little harder when it comes to viruses, right? Because it goes back to it's easier if it's a
I mean,
bacterial infection. It's just
pump some money in that fucking lab.
Yeah,
and
but
just
it's
get
hard
'em-
to it is hard to create vaccines for these things.
I
It's a
don't know
virus.
how any of it works.
Yeah.
Like I think if you put baking soda and vinegar together, like
Oh,
with
you can make a badass volcano.
yeah, and that's
That's
but
as far as
outside
I
of that, I don't know how science works. I don't even know how the baking soda and vinegar works.
Well, it is amazing how they create a flu vaccine every year. It's like a slightly different strain of flu every year, and they're able to. Well, I guess
Yeah.
they've seen some of these before, so that's what it is too.
Yeah,
But essentially, that they create a new vaccine every year.
I just keep thinking like we have, I don't know, maybe tech stuff helps, but I don't fucking know how anything works.
Yeah, everybody's afraid.
I don't even know how these microphones work. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I should just plug them in. In fact, I was having issues earlier.
I don't know how electricity works.
I don't know. That is funny, right? We use stuff and we just have no idea how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
It's so much easier when you're like a bike and you sort of understand how it works. It's like, okay, I see the pedal where it's connecting. I see the gears. If I
Yeah.
do this, I move the chain. Okay, that makes sense. I understand why
my
this
cousin
works.
lost a little piece of his finger on a bike,
Oh, really?
a bicycle. Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh. Hopefully,
I don't know, it was random.
did he grow it back?
I think it's still like,
It's still missing.
yeah, a little like a tip.
He's not like a lizard. He didn't grow it back.
No.
Nah, it's still missing.
Yeah. I don't even know how that shit works. Not the fucking tail keeps moving.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't know how anything works.
Yeah. So that's
How am I speaking right now? I don't fucking know.
That's the lesson to take away from. John doesn't know how anything works.
I know. Again, just don't touch your face.
Just don't touch your face. That's going back to John's advice.
You're better off like if you have to like itch, probably use like the inside of your shirt, cough into your fucking shoulder, or sneeze into your shoulder.
Okay, so just one more follow up question before we go. Is it you
Do you have the coronavirus?
right? Is this gonna affect your?
Right. I've actually had a test result this whole time, and I'm just looking.
You're waiting for it.
Oh man, have you ever had the? This was before I had health insurance.
Uh-huh.
Had one of those rapid swab like HIV/AIDS tests, just like randomly in my 20s. It's like free.
Mm-hmm.
Just I'm like paranoid. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And it's like I forget, like a 5-minute test or something. And they're talking to you, and they can see the results, kind of like a pregnancy test as it comes in.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at their facial expression, looking down. She's like looking at it, talking to me, and I'm just like, what is going on the other side of that thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like-
Yeah. It's like, this is not the time to have a poker face, right?
Yeah, like she's asking me just like personal questions
Right.
and
It's
stuff.
like, oh, okay. So you like the Spurs? All right. It's like, I was like, you have HIV? And so what are your weekend plans?
Gee, right.
Well, luckily it came back negative. So
Yeah,
so there's
it's
that.
just a 5 minutes goes by slow.
No. Follow up question, John. So is this going to affect any of your near future travel plans,
I'm not planning on leaving the country.
or even just here in the United States?
Nah,
No.
I don't think so. No.
Especially with spring break coming up, a lot of people are going to be traveling. So I wonder how
I've
that
never-
affects. I wonder how that affects that.
Fucking, I wouldn't. Even those fucking trays on the airplanes are fucking disgusting. They don't clean them.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah.
I know people that.
I always bring wipes.
I know people that work there.
Yeah.
Like steward.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Stewardess or what's
Well,
the
my
proper
friends-
term?
my
Flight
friend-
attendant.
Yeah, I guess we'll just say flight attendant.
Yeah.
Yeah. My friend's a flight attendant, and he's like
Super gross.
they're gross.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Like, there's no time between flights to clean them, right?
Ow! I've waited.
Nor would they want to.
I've waited on the plane that was gonna leave again. They don't come in, and they just pick up the fucking trash they see.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it depends what airline, but probably not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Well, we'll see. I'm planning on traveling, so
I just think
I'm not going to China, but
I don't think about it.
yeah, I'm not going to go to China or like Japan or what the countries? Italy right now.
Yeah. Is
No,
it?
I'm not going to plan to go, but it might be better. You might not see as many people at some of those locations.
But I mean, like people who think about it, you're talking about traveling, and then I'm talking about my friend who's a flight attendant. He's not even really thinking about it.
Oh yeah, and you've seen people
But
from
you're on a plane all fucking day.
Yeah, that is true.
And we're
Right?
thinking about one. You're thinking about one trip.
Yeah, I wonder how. I wonder
he's on a plane for most of his
the days. Yeah, that's
most of his life.
Yeah.
At the moment.
And he's fine with it. Right? He hasn't freaked out.
Nah.
Yeah, he hasn't even brought it up probably. Right?
No, not really. He just whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so that's it, John.
And he's dead.
So with that, we end another week, John. Hopefully, we come back next week, coronavirus free. With that, we will see you next week.
I was gonna say, if anyone offers you the coronavirus, kids, just say no.
Just say no. Yes, exactly. All right, we'll see you next week. Bye bye.